Today is Pentecost, and the Gospel is taken from the Gospel of John, chapter 20, verses 19 to 23. And the verses 23 says, "If you forgive them the sins of any, they are forgiven them. If you retain the sins of any, they are retained." Forgiveness is probably not the first thing that comes to mind when we think about Pentecost. Mention of Pentecost, most of us probably recall the story from Acts. We see the disciples gathered in the upper room. We hear a sound like the rush of violent wind filling the house. We imagine divided tongues as of fire appearing and resting on each disciple. We picture drunken chaos in which people are speaking, hearing, and understanding strange new languages. I suspect many of us, perhaps most of us, wish for such an experience of God. We want something tangible, a sign, a sound, a vision that reveals God's presence, that guides our life and reassures us. For St. John, Pentecost is more about what is happening within us than what is happening around us. The sign of Pentecost for St. John is forgiveness that opens locked doors, recreates life, and sends us out to be like Jesus. While forgiveness is not the whole story of Pentecost, it is an important and often ignored piece of Pentecost. One of the most difficult things we ever do is forgive another. We know we should forgive. It is the right thing to do. It is a Christian thing to do. It's what Jesus would do. But it's always easier to see another through the lens of their behavior and its effect on us than it's to see them as God sees them. Even more difficult than forgiving another is to forgive ourselves, to set ourselves free, to return to the likeness of God. If we are really honest, we each could name the secrets, the lies, the actions, the betrayals that hide in our darkness. It is a darkness that fragments our lives, separates us from God, other, and ourselves. Ultimately, however, the darkness is not about our behavior, the things we have done or left undone. Those are just the symptoms that point to the darkness. The darkness is our mistrust of divine love, the denial of our original beauty, the refusal to see our life and the world as God sees them. That is the real sin. That darkness has left the disciples hiding in their house. The doors are locked for fear of being found out. I suspect that they are hiding from themselves as much as from the religious authorities. Have you ever done that? Hide from yourself. We deny what's really going on. We making up cover stories. We pretend everything is all right. We leave no room for the Spirit of truth to blow through our lives, to inspire and recreate us. In the end, we choose to retain our own sins and live in the darkness, to live in a state of unforgiveness. That is our choosing, not God's choosing. The fear of being found out keeps us locked in the darkness of our house. The only thing that can overcome that darkness and open the doors to new life is the Spirit of truth, an advocate, who will stand on our side and not leave us orphaned, one who will teach us everything and remind us all Jesus said, one who will guide us in all truth, truth about God and truth about ourselves. So, that is exactly what Jesus does. Jesus comes and stands in the midst of our locked houses. He gets in our face and breathes. His holy breath sends forth the fire, the wind, and the tongues of Pentecost. The fire of Pentecost illuminates our hearts and pushes back the darkness. The wind of Pentecost unlocks and opens the doors to new life. The tongues of Pentecost proclaim the great deeds of God and calls us to live in a state of forgiveness, to remember and reclaim our original beauty, to return our gaze back to God, to reshape and form ourselves in His likeness. Again and again, Christ's Pentecostal breath inspires and fills us with the Holy Spirit. Pentecost recalls the day of creation when God gathered dust from the ground and breathed God's own life into us. Pentecost is an act of recreation, freeing us to leave the darkness, to step out our house into a new world and a new life. Nothing is retained against us, so let us not retain against ourselves and another. Amen.